Howdy and welcome to the Farg Motorport. So, what are we looking at today? It's one of these. So these would be described as a Jeep trailer. They're actually a T3, which is the nomenclature that was used by the American Army. So this one is a World War II trailer. It's had a bit of life. It's gone through the hands of the French Army as well, and we restored it recently. Let's have a look at the details of this particular trailer. Then I'll be able to go through the restoration with you and the work that we've done on it to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Now, I know some of you are purists, and you'll go, when you've seen what we've done, you'll be going, why are you doing that to a World War II piece of kit? Well, the reason was, it was absolutely mullered when we got it. It'd been used by the French parachute regiment, and they had just thrown it out the back of an aircraft repeatedly. The whole thing was absolutely smashed to bits. But we've managed to put it back together to save it. We've got it back on the road, and hence I felt, yeah, it's okay to make some alterations to make this a more usable trailer. So let's go and have a look round. But these trailers were made by a number of different companies during the Second World War. So Willys made them, Bantam carried on making them because Bantam stopped making Jeeps for the US Army because they couldn't keep up with demand, but they certainly carried on making the trailers. I think also Ford were making them, and they may have been assembled by lots of other US companies. If you know who those are, drop them in the comments below and that'll help everyone understand. But this particular one, it didn't have any, I think it was made by Willys. It's been through, it says the ordnance of the US ordnance, doesn't say US Army because we know that'd be post-war. It did end up then the data tags being taken off, a new set put on, and it ended up with the French. Now the French rebuilt this. Willys Overland of France rebuilt it, and I know that because when we were taking it apart, lots of the different constituent bits had WOF stamped on it. But this is a bog standard American T3. So let's see what the difference between the T3 is and the civilian version. On the side panels here, you can see that they've got these recesses pressed into them to give them some strength. And you notice that these travel all the way down, and they're all the way along the body. There's one, there's a second, third, fourth, and fifth. So having those 5 recesses tells me that this is definitely a military Jeep trailer. You can sort of see down here on the bottom where the original lights would have been attached. There's a very simple metal bracket came out with a circular, what I would describe as a Willys Jeep light cluster. So certainly a light cluster that have been knocking around in America for many years before it was used by the military. The French have obviously added their own very robust late 70s light cluster, and it comes with a number plate. Now what's interesting is in the French military, these trailers are actually registered themselves, and so you will get a registration that was on here, but that doesn't apply to any vehicle whatsoever. It just applies to the trailer. So that's the way the French did it, but we've just put on our UK plate on there. On the back again, so we know it's military, you've got these 2 recesses pushing through, and I know this isn't normal because we've put this in, but we've actually turned the rear part of the trailer into a tailgate. Purists may not like it, but we have been cutting and shutting this one. The thing is with the Jeep trailers, they're like it's a body that sits on a frame, and that body was intended to be watertight because then you could float the trailers when you wanted to put them through a river. What that does mean is you've got a very high side on it, so if you've put anything heavy into these, you've got to lift it up over the edge and down inside. And certainly we put tents and our camping equipment in it. It just makes a lot of sense to put a tailgate in. Now I know post-war certain countries did. I think Holland, they put their own tailgates in. It was part of the reconstruction of their kit. But in this case, we've sort of done the best we can to make this a bit more usable. I'll show you very quickly what we've done. So we've just added brackets. We've put in angle iron here to give it rigidity, and a pair of clasps at the top to keep it shut. So sort of from a glance, it still looks the same, but yeah, it makes it a lot more usable for us. Let's carry on with our tour. So down here, we've got just a standard rim. This is one off of a post-war Jeep, so it's off of a Hotchkiss. You can tell because it's got the Goodyear tyre on there as well, very French. It's a very simple bearing in behind here. There is no sort of axle to speak of. There is a bar that goes all the way through, but there's certainly no sort of drive elements. This is a direct lift, this hub from the rear of the Willys Jeep. The brakes are very, very similar. The drum is exactly the same. In fact, this one had Willys Overland of France stamped on it. Very, very simple, welded wheel arch over the top. Do you remember I said this had been thrown out of aircraft a few times? Well, here's your evidence. Look at the absolute carnage that's happened on the side of us. Those aren't my welds, by the way. Those are the French Army's, so we've just cleaned it up. In fact, when we did clean it, we found markings on it, and that included a white star, so that just shows you the heritage. This is a cranked or swan neck tow hitch, used exclusively by the French. Now, the reason for that is, using this, you're able to turn it around so the actual trailer can be hitched into pintles that are either higher, say on a small lorry, or lower on the Jeep, and it always makes the trailer at the back level, which is what you need. So quite a good little innovation, but they only really appear on the French versions. This can be undone, taken out quite easily, and the American World War II would have been a straight hitch, again with this circular attachment on the end. They do have chains. The chains then hook onto the back of the towing vehicle, gives you an amount of security. And also over here we've got our plug, which goes into the back of the Jeep, or in this case the back of one of our P4s, and that gives us the lights. Quite a thick cable, and that runs right down the chassis. On the front, this is a good way of seeing if you've got an early trailer or a later trailer. The later trailers had a very different handle that was more cranked. This one's quite a long, sort of elegant one. It's acting here, and it's just simply a cable that goes back to those drums and pulls them on. So quite a simple ratcheting system and quite useful. Another good way of noting that this is World War II is you do get the upside down and the right way up, or the other way right as it is, on these hooks. And you can see, because this was in the French Army, but weirdly, not sure it was fitted. So this is where the spare wheel attachment would be, and then there would be a spare wheel here. The problem with that is it collides with the back of the vehicle when you're doing very sharp turns, so they sort of dispensed with them, a lot of them. Also affects the balance of the trailer, puts a lot of weight on the nose, which makes it quite difficult for moving around. So we've put in a slatted wooden floor that keeps everything we've got in there off the bottom, so when it rains, we've got a little bit of capacity to take some water without getting everything wet, so that's easily in and out. What's the downfall with these trailers is they're not that expensive to buy, certainly in France. Prices are rising for genuine, really good World War II ones in the UK, but the downside of buying one as we did to restore it is just the cost of the restoration. So if you're thinking that a trailer is in and around sort of £1,000 mark, then if you need to put a new floor into it, then that can be sort of 300 to 400, and then it has to be welded in, the old one cut out and then painted. I mean, you are adding to the value which you will never get back. So we realised that when we started on this one. So this is the trailer as we bought it. So it was in 3-tone camouflage when we got it. We cut the floor out, and we actually made our own floor to go back in. You can see here. We repacked all the bearings with grease. Okay, there you go, and then into our primer and into top coat. Interestingly, we've done it in sort of a bronze green, just because it was some paint that we had hanging around in the workshop, so put quite a few layers on it. But let me show you some of the quality of the welding. You can see this was done in a hurry, so that's not me, that's nothing I've done, that's as the Jeep came. Let me show you some at the back as well. Can you see this welding here and here? So to me that sort of indicates or hints at that the entire back panel's been replaced, and this has been done in some sort of workshop in France. I can't believe that would have come out of the factory with such an atrocious weld, really. So certainly I think that rear panel, and the thing is they got rebuilt over and over and over and over again. A usable trailer, if we hadn't have grabbed it, if we hadn't have dragged it back, it would have been the end of it. There was actually brambles growing inside the chassis, so we've had to pull all that out. So we did save it, so I don't feel so bad about putting it into a bit of a funky colour and putting that tailgate in, because now it is absolutely usable. So thanks very much for that. Have a look at our channel, we've got loads of other content, mostly around things that have got engines in them, so I get a bit more excited about things like that. had absolutely perfect weather for months and months and months and months. Everything's really dry and it's great. And then the first time that I want to go away and just enjoy yourself. But there's no military element to it. I don't have to haul an enormous amount of kit. Just came in the P4, just chucked the stuff in the back, that's great. Got here and then this. I don't mean Colin, I just absolutely... Now we've got the fire going, it's absolutely sweltering inside of the tent, but never mind. So Colin, who is our cordon bleu chef, will be cooking for us today, this evening. So what have we got on the menu, Colin?
Homemade, homegrown, absolutely delightful.
Goodness, that is a first slab of steak there. Lots of fresh veg, lovely over the rain's actually dissipated. Found a wonderful cider from the local pub, so can't be bad. Let's crack on.